Many residents in Modesto rely on public transportation. What do you think are the main problems with the system, and how would you fix those problems?
Okay, thank you. Our biggest problem with public transportation is that we're not a dense enough community to be able to adequately supply mass transit at the costs that we're allowed by state law to do and have enough riders to actually be on the bus all the time. Too often during the day, there's only a few people riding the bus. We're not a very densely built city. And as we increase our density, the whole system starts working better. We're required by law to provide 20% of our mass transit in the fare box. The fares have to pay for at least 20%. And so if we provided more mass transit or more bus service and had even fewer ridership, it would be we wouldn't be able to get paid for that. And so we do as much as we can with what we're allotted. And I think we do a pretty reasonable job. Every single household in Modesto and the surrounding county pockets are within a half mile of a bus route. And most of the time the buses are running at an adequate schedule. It does not fit everybody. We can't run on the weekends late in the evening and can't run late in the evening on weekdays even because we don't have adequate ridership to pay for the system.
Thank you, Mr. Zlaki. Same question.
The struggle with mass transit in Modesto is exactly right, what the council member said. Density. We do not have the population to successfully build a good system at this point without an extremely costly infill. That infill would come from you. The challenge in the future, in order to make it effective, is to increase the efficiency of our city. We do not have in Modesto a large business center that operates well enough and adequately enough to drive people to utilize a system of mass transportation. Modesto has never been a business-friendly city, unfortunately. It's what we're struggling against right now. I ask people in all the forums that I go in, can you name for me one major manufacturer that's come to Modesto in the last 20 years? I asked this to the students when I was here a couple months ago. And the answer is, does anybody know the answer? Can you name for me a major manufacturer? There is none in the city limits in the last 20 years. That just exemplifies the challenges we have had. We've relied on one major industry, it's our heritage industry, and we've not diversified ourselves with other industries. That heritage industry obviously being agriculture. Agriculture is spread out all over. But if we want to improve the quality of our city, create that atmosphere that's a vibrant urban center, we have to create the economy that can pay for it. It's very costly with infill. I come from a home building family and I know. But it's critical if we want to get into that 21st century kind of lifestyle that so many would like to see Modesto offer. We have to change our building environment, change our business environment, I should say, in order to get there.
Thank you. Mr. Arriola, same question.
Well, actually, it's a matter of competition. You know, you can always expand it with trolleys. You can always expand it with taxis. You can always expand it with lowering the rates or hiring the rates, depending on the increase that you need for the max or the population itself. It can either expand into on night, you know, extend hours. If not all routes, at least in some general directions in each part of the city. It'll help, you know, the whole community. Right.
I think it is an issue of density, but I think it's also an issue of mindset. When I travel into other cities, I use the bus, public transportation system, but I never use it here because it's a mindset. I get in my car and I go where I go. I think we need to build in some incentives to get people to use the bus because it works. The system is a good system. So it's not that it doesn't work, it's just that we have other alternatives. And I think by incentivizing that, I mean, I'm talking about fun incentives, like there's going to be one dinner that's given away on this bus today, or something like that, that kind of just makes it fun for the community to try and say, you know, let's use public transportation. One of the other things we need to do is we need to combine our systems. We have 5 public transportation systems in Stanislaus County with 5 directors, you know, and all of that goes with that. So we need to combine that. I was talking after a meeting today with the county supervisor about doing just that. That'll make it more efficient, which will mean that we can have more routes. And I think we were on the verge before the economic collapse of getting 2 pretty good sized market rate housing projects downtown, which are people who, they're empty nesters who don't want to take care of their house anymore and all the yard, and they want to move downtown and have more of a urban lifestyle. Well, those folks are going to not typically have cars as much as they would if they had lived out in the hinterland, so they're going to use public transportation. So it is a density issue, but for us in the valley, California is awful when it comes to public transportation with respect to our mindset, because we get in a car and we drive. So I think those are the main things. I think a lot of what I'm talking about is thinking outside the box. It's designing systems where we typically everybody wants their own system, but we drive over the same roads. It just doesn't make any sense. One thing that's related to public transportation is a really good thing, but I just got to stop the other stuff. Talk to me afterwards. There's a great idea.
Thank you. Mr. Hahn, we're going to go ahead and start with you.
Okay.
There's been a lot of controversy about the role of incentives in development. Considering the turmoil of the economy, what role should taxpayer money play to support private sector development that is in line with our larger goals? What mechanisms would you consider to achieve these goals, and what do you consider worthy of taxpayer dollars?
Well, that is a great question, because what's an appropriate amount of public money that should incentivize a private activity? Well, if a private activity is going to create 6 jobs, or the money's going to turn over 6 times, which is called a multiplier, then maybe it's worth the city helping to jumpstart that. But government is not going to solve our problem about jobs in this economy. Government can provide an atmosphere through incentives. We just had a meeting of the Finance Committee on Monday night where we have a comprehensive fee task force that looked at all of our fees, and it was a very broad group that worked many hours to come with the proper approach for fees. And then they came with an incentive program that we would actually forgive part of their sales tax, part of their property tax, so that they would be incentivized to bring jobs to Modesto. And in California, the job market, everybody's leaving. Businesses are leaving California, so we have to do some things to do that. So what we're trying to do is incentivize, but make it a public process, so that when we do make a decision, it's all done in out in the public. Every incentive that we would do would be subject to a development agreement that would have to be approved by the city council, which is all public record that everybody could look at. And argue over whether we should be giving up that kind of an incentive to someone or not. One way that we have been able to do some incentives is an economic incentive bank for wastewater, which is not very exciting, I know, but we were able to have capacity donated to this bank, and then $440,000 was taken off of Riso Lopez Cheese's moving to Modesto, which created 100 jobs, and it didn't cost the city a penny because it was capacity that another business owned, and they put it in the bank and actually got a tax deduction for it. So it's creating ways like that to provide incentives is really what we have to start thinking. And Modesto is the only community in California that's doing that.
Can you repeat